Why going slow gets you into a relationship faster. That's our topic today. And I'm so excited to be having my returning guest, Paula, my beloved sweetheart, is in the house. So welcome.
Thank you.
Aw. So let me ask you a question, Paula. What happens when chemistry stops driving the bus and trust takes the wheel?
Mm. So I mean, we're obviously talking about us in this case
Yeah.
because trust was built over what felt like not too long of a period of time, but it
No.
went deep and, strongly in the
Yeah.
trust category. Yeah.
So, okay, you know the topic is we're going to talk about, talk about going slow and what that means. And honestly, we really didn't go slow.
No, we didn't go slow. In fact, we probably, in some people's opinion, went kind of
Fast.
fast. Right?
Okay, but we went deep very fast. We went deep very fast. And that's the distinction I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So going slow oftentimes refers to fewer dates, delaying sex, artificial pacing, holding back desire. And that's not what we did, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But in some ways, we weren't even, there was no outcome attached to it, really. We were really, it was building naturally and organically over that time.
Oh, and if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, you're going to want to check out our video last week where we talked about chemistry. You can get a greater sense of what we're talking about. But today I wanted to go in deeper from what we talked about before, because what we felt going slow meant slowing down attachment, slowing down projection, slowing down fantasy, or actually not even going there. Am I right?
We didn't go there.
Yeah.
No. We were going to be a stand for the magic.
Well, you're going to have to hear this one, folks. So okay, so just to give a backstory really quickly, we met online dating. We talked on the phone. We had a 3-hour conversation. The next day we met for coffee. We ended up having a 5-hour conversation. And after the date, we kind of, a couple days later, we looked at each other and said, you know what, I'm feeling kind of neutral about you.
Mm-hmm.
And just for the record, you did that.
I said it?
Well, no, I said neutral and you said.
I said, yeah, I agree.
Feeling kind of neutral. And what happened was we realized shortly after a few telephone calls, or maybe even within 1 or 2 telephone calls, that we had a lot in common, that we were really connecting with each other. We were really curious about each other, but we weren't feeling that, that sense of knowing, that sense of, oh, I met the one, or
the magic.
Yeah, the magic. And we even said, we're making a stand for the magic. So let's develop. Oh, go ahead.
So I think it was probably 2 days in, so we talked on the phone, we met for coffee the next morning, and then a day or two passed.
Yeah.
And we just went through these texts today because we were like, what did we say to each other during those first few days? But by that Tuesday or Wednesday, we were saying things like, okay, we've really enjoyed each other's company. We're talking for hours and hours.
Yeah.
We're having beautiful discourse. We're having intelligent conversation. There was chemistry to the extent that it wasn't physical chemistry, but it was
intellectual chemistry, emotional chemistry, spiritual chemistry.
I mean, we were connected.
Yeah, we
were. We connected.
And for the record, we had conversations that talked about our childhood. We had conversations talking quite a bit about our past relationships. Mm-hmm. And since Paula also has a background in personal development, self-help, spiritual work, we could talk about these things because we had a shared language with one another. And we were unafraid to talk about our past relationships. I mean, we went deep in our previous relationships. We went deep talking about what happened, why it didn't work, what we did. I don't want to say
right,
what we did wrong. I don't like saying wrong, but or what the other person did wrong. But to that extent, those feelings of like, oh my God, I'm getting caught up in my throat now.
You gotta fry.
Do some talking for me.
So I think when that Tuesday or Wednesday happened, we actually started saying, what's going on here? We have a lot in common. We have a connection, but we're feeling sort of neutral, and it sort of developed into this conversation about that right away. And at the end of that conversation, and I'm not sure if you said it or I said it, but
Yeah.
one of us said, we're going to be a stand for the magic.
Yeah.
And the
I
magic.
think I said it.
Yeah, I think you did. But I was like, yes, let's be a stand for the magic. And to me, what that meant was that we would hold out for that feeling, that chemistry, the thing that, people
That sense
talk
of
about.
knowing, even kind of that knowing.
Of knowing, like,
Yeah.
oh, I walked into the room and there he was on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, does that really happen? Or, what is really going on in real life? And, for us to be a stand for the magic, it's almost laughable now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, especially what happened after we
Right.
ended up getting together. But I want to say something, coming back to going slow to get there faster. What was slow was the rush of physical connection. The slow was the projection we oftentimes make. Definitely the slow was the fantasy we oftentimes accumulate within our heads. And more importantly, an insecure attachment to another person. And what I mean by slow was we weren't being triggered in the traditional sense of what makes people think that they actually have chemistry, that they actually think they have magic for one another.
Right.
Particularly insecure attachment. I don't know if your previous partners were anxious.
No.
Okay. But in my case, I know I'm anxious and I've attracted typically emotionally, avoidant people in my life. So that feels like attraction. That feels like that rush that you need to get that person, like you're feeling something.
Yeah.
When I recognize, for me, it was insecure attachment. But what we did accelerate in those 3 weeks before we agreed to explore a relationship was we accelerated curiosity. We accelerated emotional safety. We accelerated friendship, and we accelerated truth telling. And that's really the message I'm here to say, because it's not about going slow by waiting to have sex or holding back or spreading it out. I'm thinking of the movie Swingers, where he says you have to wait 6 days to call a person back.
Oh, it's kind of like the rules.
Yeah, but that's a game playing kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
But in those cases, what isn't usually happening is a sense of, like I said, curiosity, a sense of building friendship, and most importantly, speaking truthfully to one another. In fact, that's kind of one of our foundational tenets in our relationship. In fact, you said early on when we began our relationship, you said, what did you say? Say what you mean what you say.
And always come from love.
And always come from love.
Yeah, but we weren't in that place yet. Those first 10 days were really
that's
friendship.
No, but I meant once we began a relationship.
Yeah.
That was kind of a through line that Paula insisted that we have. And to the extent that, you don't, oftentimes you meet someone, you don't know them, you barely know anything about them. You go on a little bit of blind trust that a person is truthful. But
so can I interject?
Sure.
So I think that one of the things that we did early on that, and I've been getting commentary from a lot of people along the way from last week, which was really great. Thank you for the love, by the way.
Yeah.
But that we early on, and I think I don't know if this really comes up, early on in the dating conversation for you, but we basically decided that we were not going to be attached to an outcome. That we almost said, look, we're just
not
in French. Yeah, we're not each other's type.
Right.
We're just in friendship, that kind of thing. And what happened was hours and hours on a daily basis. I mean, we got to see each other first too. We
physically saw each other. And this is kind of a good point. So many people will spend as much time as we spent on the phone after our first date. They'll spend that much time getting to know one another before they physically meet. And God forbid you've built up all of this pent up, attachment to another person. And then what I'm saying, God forbid,
it doesn't work out.
Yeah, there isn't there's that feeling of that's not my person, all that stuff, which kind of in a way, that's what we felt. But we did the opposite. We built a connection after first meeting.
Right.
Because and I can only speak for myself. You tell me this. I was just, by the way, really quickly, today we went back to our first
All the
phone
text.
call and we went through the text messages to not so much to prepare for
No,
this,
we
but
were
I was
like, oh
really
my God.
curious. Like, and I remembered that I really liked you, you know, and on our first meeting, I liked talking with you. In fact, I should say I love talking with you because you're like me, you're a noodler. You go down
Yeah.
rabbit holes. And in a way, you know, looking back at those texts, I got to tell you something. I found myself realizing that I was talking I was talking from my coach.
Oh, totally. You were telling me
What do you mean, oh, totally?
Oh, because you were helping me get better pictures for my dating profile.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
were like, yeah, don't talk to that guy, you know. Yeah.
No, but I was still kind of, and this is really hard for me, folks. I tend to where my personal life and my professional life kind of intertwine with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me sometimes to turn off that part of me that goes into coach mode. I don't know if I don't think I do it anymore now that we built a relationship with one another.
You weren't doing it in the beginning either. It felt much more like it was coming from a place of understanding who I am, understanding how I operate. It wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, but I can't help. I know that I was in my own way testing you.
Okay.
I mean, not intentionally. It's just kind of a default that I do. And because I coach people, I hear their stories, I ask all these questions and that sort of thing. It's kind of like in sales. In fact, we just talked about this the other day. I talked about how sales mimics the dating process in the sense that a really good salesperson, this was you that said this, seeks to understand their prospective client.
Yeah.
And when you think about that for a second.
Not necessarily to be understood, right? The whole idea of a salesperson, people think like if you're in sales, you need to be, it's features, advantages, and benefits, right? Like you have to sell them what all those things are. But the real, thing about sales, and we do this in all of our lives, whether you like to believe it or not, you're a salesperson.
Yeah.
Getting relationships, people to like you, that type of thing, that it's about understanding, that other person in the friendship, right? And what is that saying? That it's better to be interested than it is to be interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Wait. Say it again. It is better to be interested instead of interesting.
Interesting. Because
Well, I think it's good to be both.
It's both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The more interested you are in somebody else, that is the thing that builds friendship. That is how understanding arises. That is how you get to know somebody.
By the way, someone says, how could she not be his type? She's any man's type. And I just want to, for the record, I wasn't her type in the first date either.
No, we blew each other off.
Well, and I think the reason why we unintentionally blew each other off is because it gave us the space to develop the friendship. It gave us the space to get to know each other without the agenda, as you said, or without the physical connection. I know I can only speak for myself, but the relationships that I've had in my life, there was strong physical connection that drove the bus. And what happens when physical connection drives the bus, we're not paying attention. We turn red flag. I know I did this. I turned red flags into green flags.
Yeah. Well, and as a woman, for me, it doesn't just become a physical connection. My emotions get hijacked. I'm in it, to win it at that point.
Yeah. So coming back to this title, Going Slow Gets You into a Relationship Faster. We really did a lot of talking.
We did a lot of talking, but we did a lot. I do recall probably 4 or 5 days into it that, into our talking.
Yeah.
I think at one point, you were saying something or I was saying something, and I think you said it first, because I know I was thinking it the day before, but you said it like the next day, and it was something to I was telling a story, You know, I mean, we were on the phone for 3 and 4 and 5 hours sometimes at a time, but um, we were seeking to really understand each other. And at one point, I was sharing a story with you, and you said, "You know what? I really freaking love you." And I was like, "Me too. You're like my new best friend." You know.
You know what? I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. I woke up, by the way, just really quickly, we have different sleep schedules. And for those that don't already know it, we live together. I tend to get up at what, 5:30 in the morning. I tend to doze off somewhere between 9 or 10 o'clock at night. You're up till midnight, sometimes
I'm like,
1.
okay.
You're not ready to start your day till 9 or even 10 o'clock. So before we even met the next time, I would get up at 5 in the morning. I was thinking about, what do I want to talk to her about today? And I'd be like waiting. And I figured, okay, it's safe to message you at 8 in the morning.
Right.
You know, because
Except
if,
it still wasn't.
but you know, it's so funny. I still, and then if you didn't respond till 10 o'clock, I was like losing my mind. She doesn't like me anymore, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh, I can't wait to talk to you. First off, we're crazy people, by the way. We love not talking. I mean, it's true that we love talking
We
with,
spend a lot of time talking.
we talk with each other, but more importantly, we are very curious people about a variety of different things, but so much so in the area of relationships. So in the beginning, we were talking about dating quite a bit, the problems with dating, what people are faced with, ghosting, breadcrumbing, love bombing. We were unpacking it as two friends would sit there and unpack it.
I had just gotten off of 2, what do you call them? Hit and runs?
Oh, hit and runs.
Skirmishes?
Yeah, no, those are hit. So if you have a very short-lived experience, I call them hit and runs. If you have a relationship that lasts somewhere between 3 weeks and 3 months, I call those skirmishes.
So it doesn't matter how many dates.
It doesn't matter how many dates. Well, let's not get into the particulars. So
anyway, I had just gotten off of a couple of those.
Hit and runs.
Ghosting
and we were I don't want to say analyzing it,
no,
but we were sharing how it felt to experience, because you got ghosted, and she was sharing the experience of feeling ghosted, and really from a heart-centered place. And I hope you felt empathy from me. I hope you felt compassion from me.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the things you said, you know, before we saw each other the second time, you said you felt seen by me.
I did.
And
I think though also that, I mean, as a woman, and you guys pipe in and let me know if this is something that you seek as well. I like to go pretty deep pretty fast. So if I'm on a date, like first date or second date, I'm like, let's get in there and talk about this stuff, right? And some guys are going to be like, no, not going to do that, and then others will get in there with you. He was in there right away, but we had also established that there was not an outcome.
Yeah, because we weren't going to pursue a physical relationship or a relationship from that standpoint. It was so easy to talk as friends.
So but in the sharing of the stories, though, I got very vulnerable, but you also got very vulnerable.
Sure. I talked about my past relationship and to some degree, when I met you, I think I was still had residue from my last relationship. And in my case, well, we both had lived with our past relationship. For me, it felt more fresh because, well, in my case, I was the one that was broken up on.
Yeah, you were
and
the
you were the one,
and I was the doer.
You were the doer. I was the doee.
Yeah.
So I think when a person is the one who ends the relationship, I think it might be easier to detach or to integrate versus the person who's like, what did I do wrong? What could I have changed? All this kind of stuff. And although for those of you that followed my videos during that period of time, you know that I examined my actions, my behavior, my experience, and quite frankly, neither one of us did anything wrong. She recognized sooner that we weren't a long-term fit for one another. So, but by sharing that vulnerability, and look, I even shared the things that I'm not proud of with you.
Yeah, you were vulnerable.
Well, I shared how I don't feel like I'm a really good traveler. I share my
Oh, yeah.
anxiety. I share, well, because you know what? I'm unafraid to talk about it, fears and insecurities. And I share this because there's this belief system that if a man shares his fears and insecurities, he's going to be perceived as weak. And in many cases, that will be true. You know, that will be a turnoff for someone. But my instincts told me with you, you are a safe place to land to share those things with you. And I think in some ways it was a test too. I was saying this earlier. I wanted to see if you would still like me, possibly like me, if you knew all of my picadillos, so to speak. So again, coming back to what we shared in the previous video, after these 10 days of conversations, we decided to meet for a drink. In fact, you invited me over because you still had your foot in a boot.
So can I want to,
Sure.
before we move on to that, I think the piece that I'd like to have the audience hear is that in the building of friendship, and you know, this is it's almost like a slippery slope in some ways, you know, the building of friendship, because in our case, you know, we did end up with physical attraction,
Yes.
right? But I think that, you know, some people might hear it and think, okay, the idea of building friendship and not being in that sexual/physical zone, you know, can cause non-physical attraction.
Sure, it puts people in the friend zone, which in my mind, the friend zone means I don't want to sleep with you.
Right. But I think that more importantly, that we were coming from this place of intentional space.
Yeah.
Even when we were building friendship, it was a seek to understand, seek to accept.
Yes.
Acceptance was in there. And that just naturally built. So what would you say is the recommendation for people trying to straddle that edge between friendship and physical connection?
So, okay, this is just a theory I have, but and I think this more for a woman. If you're totally grossed out by the guy, like you go, I know I would never sleep with this person. Yeah, I mean, if you've got that, I would never sleep or kiss this person, then develop a friendship all you want. I mean, if that's your choice.
It's strictly in the friend zone.
Yeah, it's strictly in the friend zone.
But that is still not attached to an outcome. So
okay, but I'm saying that if you feel that absolute no, then
well, then why?
Well, the reason being it's that space in between. You and I were neutral.
Right.
We weren't drawn
to like. We weren't to know.
Yeah, there was no.
Yeah.
It's so if you're in that space of like, well, I could sleep with this person, but you're not feeling it, and you're feeling this desire to connect at a deeper level, then I think pursuing, again, when I say pursuing the friendship, it's pursuing to get to know each other, liking each other outside of the physical trappings of either kissing or, you know, having sex, right?
Right.
And by the way, this is really important, the kissing piece, because in our particular case, and coming back to what we shared in the last video, is I woke up that Thursday morning when I was going to come over to your place, and all of a sudden I had this stronger attraction. I had a stronger attraction for you, a physical attraction. So, and I think you were feeling it too on some level.
Like
you were, so we were feeling this connection, and the kiss just amplified it and said, okay, now game on.
Right.
You know, and what did I say that night about magic?
Oh, well, so 2 days after our first meet, where we sort of thought, okay, we're just going to be a stand for the magic and we're not really feeling it right here. So let's, move on. And then we talked for 10 days and whatnot. The whole time we were going to be a stand for the magic, right?
Which again, just simply means that the next one is going to be like, hit us like a lightning bolt.
Like you see him across the room.
Yeah.
The stars twinkle, But when we, after the first kiss, we were sitting on the couch and I think you got up, came back, and you sort of like looked down at me and you said, you know what, sweetheart, we've been talking about being a stamp for the magic all
Yeah.
this time. This is the magic.
Yeah, I remember saying that.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's put a bow on this and we're going to take questions now. To the extent that we took it slow, what we did was we didn't rush the physical connection until we built trust with one another. And we accelerated the building trust piece by sharing from a vulnerable place about our past, sharing how we feel right now in our lives, sharing those aspects of our lives where we had common ground, and really diving into deeper questions. We spent a lot of time, close to, I see your hands.
I know. And being really clear on intentions.
Yes, being very clear that we both were clear that we wanted life partners.
Yeah.
We knew we wanted a life partnership-based relationship that either meant living together. We haven't really talked about marriage, not that that's not on the table, but
no, but I shared with you my ultimate man list.
Yeah.
You know, you shared with me the qualities you were looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, we were very intentional about what we were looking for.
So from that extent, accelerate the curiosity about another person. Just my suggestion is hold off on the physical. And again, don't set a timeline, 3 months, this or that. Just accelerate the getting to know you period before the physical.
Until it truly feels good. Until it truly feels
safe
right.
and calm.
Safe, calm,
all those good
all
juicy
that good
words.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our conversation. Now, for those who know my live format, know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box in the corner there. Write the word question and then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $ in the chat box. Hit that $. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslake. That's a picture of him right there with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away over 7 years ago. And in his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. Our goal tonight, let's make it $100. So if 10 of you donated $10, is that my math right? We'd get there. All right, I already see questions popping up. So I saw Annika here a second ago. Hey, Annika, what if you feel crazy chemistry, but I'm trying to really lean into building a friendship? Ooh, good question. How would you answer
nothing
that?
wrong with that if you feel
Well, yeah. So I think it depends on coming back to intention. And I think it starts with knowing what your values are, knowing your must-haves, your deal breakers, that sort of thing, and diving into those questions quickly. You know, I mean, by the way, folks, we're in our 60s, so I'm just going to openly admit that, even though she looks like she's in her 30s, so I'm not robbing the cradle. I think we both knew we didn't want someone who's raising small children.
We did know that.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's a question to ask.
Okay,
but do you agree? We didn't need to go there because we knew the age of our children. But for some people, there are plenty of people in their 50s and 60s that have young children. And for I have a client of mine who said, that's a deal breaker for her. And I'm not saying that's everyone, but that's an example of know what your must-haves and your deal breakers are.
So I would ask the question, what is crazy chemistry to you, Annika, right?
Okay.
Because there's that, because maybe that means, you're having amazing conversation, but, for me, the building the friendship means, how does this person, like, I used to say this to you in the beginning, like, I like you.
Yeah.
I like you. Like, you're one of my people. Like, I like you. You're one of my tribe. And
you're so fucking cute. I think you're adorable.
But I thought that was really important. Like, that was my next intentional space that I wanted to bring into my life. For me, it was, I really wanted to like them.
Well, okay, I'm going to take this down a different road. Crazy chemistry. That to me is danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger, danger. In other words, if it's crazy chemistry, that means you have to be even more intentional about determining compatibility, because crazy chemistry can take the train down a track and you find out
You
weeks,
take the
months
crazy
later.
train.
You take the crazy. Is that it? Is that?
I think so.
I'll do a little Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Is that crazy chemistry without compatibility can be crazy train wreck.
True. So the question becomes, have you figured out what you're compatible with? Have you figured
Yeah.
out what your real intention is? What his intention is?
By the way, we had an interesting conversation about intention the other day. And we talked about, for those, many people enter the dating marketplace with a short-term mating strategy. It's like, I want to have a good time. I want to feel something. I'm not really looking for anything serious. Okay. A lot of people enter into the process with a short-term strategy and with the caveat, well, if I meet the right person, we'll see, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You and I had a long-term mating strategy in that we both were very clear we wanted life partners. And when you're clear you want a life partner, the box that looks like is a lot different than the, oh, let's just see where it goes kind of thing. And
we used to joke, I used to say I didn't have enough data.
Yeah. Right?
That's
your.
And I realized that, not enough data was me like getting ready to poke a hole in something in the relationship, right? And what was the other side of the not enough data? Feeling, I can't remember, but
shoot, that was something you'd always say to me.
I know. One is not enough data, and the other is feeling committed or all in.
Yeah. So there's
it's like two ends of the spectrum if you think about it. Like if you're busy, trying to control the situation, be in control, like you want certain things and it's not quite the thing you want. So you're like, oh, I'm not so sure. You kind of like got that little guy on your shoulder poking holes in it going, okay, well, there's not this good thing, but there's that, and that, right? And instead of just saying, I am in for this friendship and or, relationship and just going for it from that perspective. Yeah.
So, it's interesting. Paula brought up all in. When we had reached our 3-week point and we agreed we're going to explore a relationship, we weren't all in. I mean, in means,
we wanted to explore.
No, I get that. But I want to be clear about something. To me, all in means I'm going down with the ship here. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm kind of in it. If you get sick, I'm there for you. I'm going to take care of you. That's what all in means to me. And when we agreed to explore a relationship, I did it with that in mind too. Like, is this a person? I just read a meme on Facebook or Instagram that said, marry somebody that once you start a conversation, you can keep going until the day you die, kind of thing. It was a reference to that. And I knew with you, oh my God, you and I, we can start at 9 a.m. for coffee on Sunday, sit on the couch and talk nonstop with each other. And did you hear me say with each other? Not at each other. We talk with each other for 9 straight hours. We love going down different rabbit holes. Now, let me be clear. We take walks. We get out of the house. We're meeting friends for dinner. We're doing a retreat. We just flew out of town for a retreat. We do shit too. Okay. By the way, we need a date night soon. But we got one this weekend. Well, I want just me and you and I. So anyway, I want to take another question. Let's go here. Julianne, this may be a little off topic, but why do men ask me out now that I'm a bigger woman and hardly no one did when I looked my best? Could this be male insecurity or something else?
Ooh, Julianne, maybe you're feeling something about yourself that's really like great from where you are, from whatever place you're in. Like, and maybe they're seeing that.
It's interesting. I don't know. When you just said that, it reminds me of my mother. So folks, for long as I remember, my mother, when I was growing up, she was 5'5" and 300 pounds, or pushing 300 pounds. And yet, and now let's just say I'm in my 20s. So she's in her 50s. And I swear to you, she could walk into the room and think she owned it. Like she would go to the grocery store and come home with people, that we're feeding that night.
Yeah.
She had this magnetism about herself. And I don't know if it was kind of in reverse. In other words, she reached a point where she
She just
accepted
didn't give a-
herself
Yeah.
and she didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And maybe Julianne, and I'm just speculating here,
Mm.
if you're operating from a place of I accept myself and I could give a fuck, maybe you're putting off some energy that's really highly attractive. I mean
Agreed.
I'd be curious to know what you think of that.
Yeah.
Again, we often by the way, isn't there the expression there's a lid for every pot?
Oh,
So I mean,
I've never heard it, but that's
yeah, but the
Why?
point is, it doesn't matter what your body size is, and certainly, attractive women get hit on a lot, or I mean, ultra attractive women. But I can imagine that's just as annoying as not getting hit on,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just my thought on that. Let's keep going. All right, Gretchen's in the house. Question for Paula. How long had you been dating before you met Jonathan? And did any men even come close to our Jonathan? Okay. How many men?
How many men?
Well,
did I
really
date?
quickly,
So,
when you split up.
so
with,
I had a
and
5-year
let's not use our
relationship.
sexist names.
I had a 5-year relationship, and then I decided that I was going to take a couple of years off. I hadn't really decided it was going to be a couple of years. I just wanted to take some time off, and it ended up being a couple of years. But I did a lot.
Did you
of work.
actually say to yourself,
No.
"I'm going to," like you just
I
didn't
just
date?
Didn't, I just didn't date.
There's a difference, though. When you say, "I'm going to take time
No,
off,"
I did say I was going to take time for myself, and I really
Okay.
wanted to. I really wanted to be in a place that felt sovereign, and spent. It had been 30 some odd years of relationships, almost back to back. So
Yeah.
I hadn't lived by myself, hung out by myself, not being in relationship. And so what happened was I, decided to take time for myself, and that time turned into almost 2 years. So it was a long time. And then I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to be in relationship. I love being in relationship. And I was coming from a place that felt whole.
How many
Yeah.
men did you date?
So I would say, okay, so I got on the
I don't mean the
dating
hit and run.
sites
I
in
just mean-
November. I don't know, really. I mean, I went on several dates. I really had a high amount of discernment
Yeah.
when I got back in. I mean, like to the point where I was just like, nope, that's not going to hit my internal list of, values and criteria that I was looking for. So I did a lot of swiping.
Okay, just give us a
left.
number.
I don't have one.
Well, you probably a half a
maybe-
dozen.
Half a dozen actual dates. No, I'd say maybe a dozen actual dates.
Okay.
A couple of skirmishes, and then
Hit and runs.
no skirmishes.
Oh, skirmishes.
Yeah.
Okay. My case, I think when my relationship ended till the time I met you, I know you didn't ask that question, Gretchen, but I'll answer it. I think I had six dates in a 2-year period of time, roughly a 2-year period of time, with a hit and run. Well, with the skirmish in there. So it means a short-lived experience. Okay. So anyway, all right, let's keep going. Angela's in the house. Hey, sweetheart. Did you have any big fights or conflicts while you were getting to know each other?
No.
How do you deal with conflicts? Oh, well, we're having them now. No, I'm just kidding. Now that we live together, can I start this one
Of
off?
course.
So I don't think during the 8 months that we spent before living together, did we have any major disagreements. I mean, and I want to differentiate between a fight, an argument, or a disagreement. I think a fight is two emotional children going at each other. I mean, to be in that state of fighting one another, I believe that's two emotional children going at, or at least one emotional child going at the other. I think arguments usually tend to be birthed from I'm right, you're wrong. Okay. In other words, it's two people going, I'm right.
Somebody
No,
has
I'm right.
Okay.
That's where an argument comes from. And I
Okay.
wanted to make this distinction, Angela, because I don't think we bordered on one argument since we've been together, and we've raised our voice a little bit, and you shut that down pretty quickly by just disengaging until, and let me just say this really quickly. Paula disengaged. That allowed my nervous system to calm down because I got riled up over the stupidest of things. I want to be candid with everyone. It was pretty stupid, although I'm still right. No, I'm just kidding. But differences. We have hundreds of differences. What happened today? We had a different. Oh, you were cleaning the microwave with vinegar, and I was like, "That's the grossest thing."
Come on, give me hands up for vinegar and stick.
No. And I'm like, that was gross. And so we have a difference. Okay, so I mean, here's an example where we have a difference.
That's a silly thing, though.
But you know what? No, it's silly. You're right. However, it is what I'm learning in this time that we've just been living together for 3 weeks. And more importantly, just even in our relationship, we have hundreds of differences.
We do. And we've learned
that's
to pick our
by
battles.
the way. Yeah. And that's another thing. Pick your battles. But now you're going back to fight and argument. We address our differences. We actually
quickly and head on.
And again, the through line is come from love. That's our kind of even when we've been kind of like, it's okay to agree to disagree, by the way. I think we've had a few I agree to disagree. But I remember I came into the kitchen and I said, look, sweetheart, I love you. Yeah. I think it's always, and not just I love you, but I wanted to connect, look in her eyes and say, this is so trivial compared to, the stance of having our ego satisfied. So we address things quickly with the intent of is if we can have a mutual win-win, that's our goal, a mutual win-win. And we've only had maybe a few things where it's kind of like, well, I disagree with that. I disagree with vinegar, okay? I think, but that's just a difference.
So I think the main thing that we have learned in the last few weeks is that we need to be able to say, what I heard of what you just said is blank.
She's so much better at that, folks. She's so great at going, so what did you hear from me?
What did you hear from me?
She's always like, what did you hear from me?
Yeah.
I think you're testing to see if I pay attention.
So oftentimes you are verbatim what you actually
we actually had something happen yesterday. Quite frankly, she shared something with me. What she said and what I heard was two different things. And it just made me realize, it made me think of gaslighting.
Perception.
But in the opposite. Okay, gaslighting is intentionally distorting the facts. Okay. I did the opposite. I unintentionally distorted the facts. Like she was sharing, she wasn't trying to manipulate me. What I heard was so different. And what I realized, coming back to differences, folks, this is so critical. I want you to come back and watch this again. Okay. We humans don't realize how each person can contextualize events differently. Let me repeat that. We contextualize events, circumstances, experiences differently. And quite frankly, our memory is not a valid tool to assess the facts. We humans have a propensity to, what it was said in 9 Perfect Strangers, we deconstruct memory in such a way, and
before we reconstruct
it, and we could be totally off base. We've had a few moments.
What's my theory?
Perspective's
everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, perspective. Yes,
it's how we see
them. That's a grand theory.
Well, no, but it's it's my theory.
Okay,
perspective's everything. It's like how you see it, how I see it, maybe completely.
And we spend more time probably trying to understand each other's perspective. And believe me, I'm going to say we fail at this a lot too.
as
I
human
don't want to
beings.
exaggerate that,
No,
but
as
you
human
have
beings.
sometimes selective memory.
Right, but just in general, as human beings,
I just want to make sure everyone knows I'm not always the one wrong. Okay, let's take our next question. Cookies in the house. Question: I'm 30 years old. Everyone around me is getting married, having kids, getting houses. I'm single. My parents are pressuring me every day to settle down. I don't want to rush into it. Need help. Well, I was just watching Esther Perel, and it's Esther Perel, however she pronounces her first name, who wrote the book Mating in Captivity. She said basically the quality of our life is predicated on the quality of our relationships. And here's the thing: if you are feeling pressure to make a decision, from what I've observed, that's the worst vantage point to be making a choice. In other words, if you're feeling pressure. And so one is, what's most important is that you connect. If you're going to pursue a relationship with someone, make sure you build a foundation of trust, that you share the same values, you share the same vision of a relationship, that your lifestyles are blendable, that you assessed each other's emotional maturity. And I know I just said a mouthful, but if that took you 5 more years, that's okay too. Thankfully, you're 30. I have women who come to me in their late 30s feeling a lot more pressure. What's most important, I would also say, is to build a sense of your sovereignty and your self-love. Because again, if you're operating from a place of the woman we were talking about that, accepts themselves, when you come from that sovereign place, you become much more attractive to everyone around you. So that's do you have anything to add?
No, I think you're spot on.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's see. Paula, John, I really like you. Someone's pointing out. By the way, we have got, let's see, questions. All right, here we go. Did you go through 8 dates together? If not, why not? My whole life is the book 8 Dates. Where is the book? Behind me right here. It's right here. 8 Dates by Drs. John and Julie Gottman. I know this backward, frontward. We didn't actually pull out the book. By the way, all the books I recommend are listed below. Also, don't forget my book, which is right behind me, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. We didn't go through the book, verbatim, but everything in the book we covered. I mean, we didn't cover the part about having children because we already had children. Yeah. So, but we talked about money. Okay, so we talked about commitment and trust, what that means to us very early on. We talked about how we didn't talk particularly how we address conflict, but we did talk about it in the context of our previous relationships, which gave us insight into how we handled conflict, or at least it gave us a template. Yeah. But the other piece, we talked about sex and we talked about money before we had sex.
That's true.
We talked about what our sexual preferences are. We talked about our finances, where we were financially. I mean, not that we gave each other our bank accounts, but we got a sense of where we were at and why that's important, particularly financial agreement is one of the principal foundations for a sexual relationship, for a successful relationship. Was that a Freudian slip?
Maybe.
Is if you're not compatible financially, that can be, think of the second most common reason why people get divorced: money. So I think it's important to have those conversations. So to answer your question, yes, we did, just not verbatim over the book. Hey, Annika just gave us a $10 super sticker. Thank you for the love. We appreciate you. Let's see what else we have here. Oops. Let's see. We're going to have to come back and read all these. By the way, they love you, sweetheart. Vinegar is the best way to clean. Girl. Vinegar is less toxic. Vinegar is a natural cleaner. I think it's gross. Vinegar is a great cleaner from Gretchen.
Can I do the I am right dance?
No, you can't. I'm not in agreement with that one. Apple cider vinegar. Okay, can we switch it up?
Apple cider vinegar, even better.
Paul is very, okay, let's see. Question, dancers in the house. Why the fuck would you care what she cleans with? Everyone knows vinegar is the best petrol cleaner.
Awesome.
I don't care. When I say I don't care, I'm grossed out by the smell. What if I
Okay,
had an
you might like
allergic
that.
reaction to it?
Okay, well,
Sassy wants to point out, of course, there are differences, not a surprise for being in midlife. More will come up, especially when living together, since it's right there. How it's handled is key. But you know, here's the fantasy. I'm going to tell you something as a coach who's worked for 15 years. And this is no disrespect to women. Many of you ladies have a fantasy. Well, if we love each other, it'll magically work out.
No,
And-
I've been saying this mainly since we've moved in together, but we've
Yeah.
also had the experience before this of disagreeing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it is because we're in midlife. Maybe we've gone through this with other relationships and whatnot, but I feel like we've met the differences head on and talked about them and worked through them.
Yeah, but a lot of couples don't do that. They don't have the relationship skills. And no disrespect. I know men get a bad rap. Men get a bad rap for being emotionally unavailable, emotionally stunted, emotionally constipated. But women are no fucking picnic either.
Yeah, we
You're
all
not
have our
great
shit.
at this.
I know.
You know, a lot of times, you know, you can, not you, but the collective can vomit their emotions and feelings or be antagonistic. My point is relationship skills is not easy, particularly in the area of conflict resolution. That, again, coming back to 8 Dates talks about this. Most every nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg. It's because not only do we come from love, but we've developed the skills to communicate. You know, we can identify. Oh, here's something. Paula will agree on this. I spend a fair amount of time trying to identify what I'm feeling and then articulate what I'm feeling. So
a lot
I can
of
be
men
seen.
don't have that.
I get that.
capability.
But women aren't necessarily great at it either. However, it's learning to identify what you're feeling is so critically important. And another thing so many couples do, and this is my rant, okay, is that they just hope that chemistry will whitewash all of the things we're coming. This question was about differences. And yes, you're going to have hundreds of differences, but most everybody thinks, you know what? The minute you have a difference, guess what they do? They start swiping on the next one. They start swiping on the, you know what? My mother, father got married. They were married 66 years. And once they said, I do, that was for life. They had to work through their shit. And today, relationships are disposable.
So can I piggyback?
Okay,
on that?
that's my rant.
All right. I'm going to piggyback on that.
Okay.
I think that the commitment was there in old-fashioned relationships.
Yeah.
First of all, there wasn't the ability to so easily get out of them, right?
Yes.
But the deeper piece of that, the more bird's eye view of that, is the all-in piece.
Yes.
It is the commitment piece. And I think that what you and I have, the always come from love, the bigger picture of it is that we're looking at it from the standpoint of not necessarily, am I right? And what is that saying? You know, would you rather be right or would you rather be kind?
Happy? Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?
Happy.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what's important here? Like, it's not necessarily whether you're right or wrong. It's whether or not you love each other. So in the, you know, can can the saner person of the two step back and go, we still love each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is really important.
By the way,
Are we
I
all-
want to say something for everybody. We are not sitting on a high horse here. We are only
Oh,
8,
no.
9 months in.
No.
We don't have 20 years of backstory to say that what we're feeling is a guarantee. You know, I'm very well aware that, you know, I don't anticipate this happening, but we may not work out. Okay. I mean, that's a very real possibility. I'm just sharing where we're at today and how we got to where we're at today. I feel a strong sense of knowing that this is my ride or die person. Okay. I mean, I'm all in it for Oh. I'm in it for the long run. Okay. And because I've looked at it and said, you know what? I'm in this, even if you got sick tomorrow kind of thing, I'm in it for that reason. A lot of people don't go all in. And this is why these days, the most common relationships, besides hooking up, besides situationships, besides friends with benefits, are casual relationships. And casual relationships may come with monogamy, it may come with exclusivity, but it doesn't come with, I'm in it, I'm all in. I mean, I'm burn the boats kind of thing.
I'm all in with with you.
Yeah. And if you're poking holes, if you've got one foot out the door, if you're feeling maybe, then that relationship is always going to be precarious. Okay. It's when you say, I'm all in. And that's scary to say all in. And by the way, for men, that can be ultra scary to go all in, because a lot of men fear, they might fear commitment. They might fear being betrayed. They might even fear being a burden on someone. I know I met with a client and her partner, and there's this fear of being a burden on someone. Our fears can block our capacity to go all in. And the only way you can, for lack of a better word, rectify it is through sincere, deep, vulnerable, authentic conversations. That's the only way you're going to get there. And to be transparent with one another. And that's not easy to do. Okay, I'm done.
Can I add one other thing?
Yes.
You know, when you and I, one of the things that I really treasured about the way you approached me was that, and my nervous system felt at ease and in trust, because it wasn't, you weren't saying I'm all in to this being forever.
Yeah.
You were saying I'm all into the exploration of who we are together.
Yes. I wanted to see where this was going to go.
But it was the words that really got me. And I think if more people use those words, like I'm into the exploration of what this means.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be together.
Well, there was also, you know, I didn't want to create a false sense of commitment either, in the sense like, look,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know if this, but here's the thing. After 3 months, look, I have a steadfast rule. If you're 3 months in, you guys are having sex on a regular basis, and at the latest 6 months in, you're not saying this is serious, man, you are rolling the dice. You are rolling. If you are fully, you want to be all in.
For what though? You know, 3 months
to be all in.
Not enough time to say I'm all into a commitment. You're saying I'm all into the exploration.
But within, but I'm okay. And look, I'm getting pushback right now. I say within 3 to 6 months, you're saying, look, I'm in it for the long run. This is where I want to take it. I think people drag out relationships so long. You should be so intentional that within 3 to 6 months, you can get to that place of like, look, I want to ride or die with this person. If you can't get there in 3 months or 6 months, I'm talking about being in love. Remember, we had a whole conversation about in love. Yeah. Okay, the in part is all in. I'm in love means I'm all in. If you can't get there in 6 months, it's rare that you're ever going to get there after that. In fact, I would say it should happen within the 3 to 6 month mark. Okay. By the way, we're almost at an hour, but we got a lot of questions. Are you willing to go a little longer?
Go.
Okay. Question. I talked to a man for a month. We had a good conversation, even told me about getting sexually abused, but would never meet me. Well, most likely he has a fear, and his motivation, I'm just speculating here. We have a population of very lonely people that are desirous of companionship, connection, and even physical intimacy, but they don't have the capacity to even physically walk out the door. I know, by the way, after COVID, I was an agoraphobe. I didn't want to leave the house after COVID. So my point is, and that's, I
couldn't wait to get out.
No, I get that. But I mean, I have probably become more isolated since that event. And imagine if he was sexually abused at some point in his time, he's probably got some deep wounds. And while he, you've had good conversations, if you're not willing to meet, then what's the point? Coming back to intention. The most important question is, not only is what are you looking for in a relationship? But more importantly, ask the question, what does commitment mean to you? Okay, someone write that down. What are you actually looking for in the form of relationship, and not the word relationship, but actually describe what that looks like. Paula knows. It looks like at the beginning, spending 3 or 4 days and nights a week together, doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in our personal and our professional life. Intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy that leads to either moving in together or getting married. I was clear on what it looked like. Everybody, and I can tell you, I speak to women all day long, and you know what? You're deers in the headlight, even for a lot of women, that they don't know what it looks like. And you better know what the word commitment means to you and articulate that to another person. And Regina, I apologize, I'm sounding like I'm ranting, but I'm passionate about this. Naivety is no excuse anymore. It's time to be grown up and apply grown-up conversation. So ask those deeper questions than, how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. I know I'm a little bit bombastic in that way. All right. Regina. All right. Oh, wait, she came back. He was attracted to me, but he said he was confused about sex, whatever that means. Well, if a man said that to you, Paula, what would you say to him?
He's confused about sex. I mean, I'd just be getting curious, Regina. You know, the question really is this, I mean, coming from your place, you know, is this a man you'd like to know more of sexually? And if so, what is it about that might be attractive to you? You're talking a lot about he was attracted to me, et cetera, but what's attractive to you?
Yeah,
what is attractive to you?
Yeah.
So maybe he was being vulnerable, and that's a lovely thing. Question becomes, you know, what is it that you want? What does Regina want?
There you go.
Yeah, what does Regina want?
By the way, sassy, can you read that out loud?
Jonathan, are you still perturbed by having condiments on the table? Oh my God, yes.
Didn't that just happen today when you were
Yes.
making, or last night? Oh my gosh, Debbie's in the house, and she just gave us a $20 super sticker. Thank you for the love. We appreciate you. Thank you, sweetheart. So glad that you were able to join us. Wait a minute. Let's see. Oh, yes. Can we hear about money expectations? I'll take a shot at this.
Okay.
Not a shot at it, but I'll direct this one.
All right.
So I think we both knew that we wanted somebody that could hold their own.
Yes.
And in other words, we weren't in a position, you're not in a position to take care of someone 100%.
Right.
And I was very upfront. I'm not in a position to take care of someone 100%. I got wiped out in the market crash of 2008. I've had to rebuild my life. And so I think what was important for me and important for you is that we could each hold our own.
Yeah.
And I think
Carry our own little red wagon.
Yes, you always say carry our little red wagon. And quite frankly, 2 is better than 1. So we actually saved ourselves a boatload of money by moving in together.
Yeah.
And in other words, paying, rent and that sort of thing. And we split expenses. She's got a great app, she plugs in. It's called Splitwise. And we just plug in everything we do. We kind of just take turns. I'm picking up this, you're picking up that.
Now that we're living together, but before it was about generosity. It was about, I got this dinner, I got this.
Yeah, that's true. Before we moved in together, we were just taking turns when it comes. And it was more, it's my turn. No, it's my turn. No, it's my turn, kind of thing. So it was always driven by generosity. Now that we're together, I mean, we have expenses like the electricity and the cable and the groceries and stuff like that. So we talked about getting a joint bank account, but for now we're just using this app. And
so can I piggyback on
Sure.
on the actual question? So Deb, how I hear this question, can we hear about money and expectations? Like in the dating world, that's but when it comes down to relationship, I think this is where, we're sitting at the moment. But, one of the things on my list from a dating perspective, and I can say this, I have friends of mine that speak from a place of real need, not necessarily desire, but need, where they need somebody to help take care of them. And in some ways, their dating life seems like a rescue fantasy in that respect, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's that, and I think that that's not a good place to come from. On the other side of the spectrum, there is the I can take care of myself and I don't need this other person, and it opens up a field of what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of, that piece is not as important a piece of the puzzle as what it is you're trying to attract from an emotional standpoint. I always use the idea of financial dollars versus emotional dollars, and I think a lot of women are looking to be satisfied with emotional dollars far more than they are with financial dollars. Both apply, but I think
so. Because we're talking about the early dating, I was watching a video from an influencer that said if a man makes a woman or asks a woman to split the bill, he's either not that into her or he's cheap. And the third piece she didn't bring up, and it's quite frankly, he may not have the resources to take care of someone else, but he has the resource to take care of himself. Mm-hmm. So I only point this out is that our social structure is built on men paying for everything. And quite frankly, particularly those in midlife, I would say, by the way, 80% of Americans still live paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. So to have that expectation going, in other words, coming back to expectations, if you have that expectation, you might be shooting yourself on the foot. For a great guy that can take care of himself, you can take care of yourself. And so a friend of mine once said, expectations are the mother of disaster and desperation is her twin sister. Angela's in the house. Let's keep going. How do you know if a man likes you or if he's just being polite and doesn't mean anything?
Oh, you can see it in their eyes, I think.
I've had a lot of first dates where I'm like, I know I'm not going to ask this person out, but I'm still too chicken shit. So I'll say, oh, we'll talk again or something like that. Okay. And then I do the backtrack on a text later. I'm guilty of this. I know,
we've all been guilty of it. Yeah, call me or whatever, and then answer. But I think you can see it in their eyes. That's my.
I do. By the way, wait, what did Regina said? Notice Paula is mimicking things you say. You always say that is a sign that the person likes you. Do you mimic me?
I don't know.
I didn't notice that. Anyways, Sassy wants to point out, always have separate bank accounts. Yeah, we actually talked about that because I have a trust that's set up in my son's name. Mm-hmm. Your assets are going to go to your children. Mm-hmm. But I think, and I've talked about this, I do believe that maybe having some joint money together, only if something physically happens to one of us, that there's still a contribution. Yeah. And quite frankly, I've thought about making Paula my medical, what is it? Medical what? Proxy and that sort of thing. By the way, these are grown-up conversations that people should talk about. I can't tell you how naively what?
Who wants to be grown
up? Yeah, who wants to be grown up? Okay. Paula, what's your zodiac sign?
Oh, I'm an Aquarius, true and true.
Yeah.
And he's a Leo.
Yeah.
And we keep getting things about Aquarius and Leo being pretty good together. But
another person asked that, I guess. I'm guessing she's an Aries, one person
curious
wrote.
Why.
Okay. Let's keep question dot. When and how to bring up last will and testament and prenups? Well, certainly before you get married versus after.
Yeah. I think anytime. It's all important. These are things that we should be talking about.
Well, a prenup is a fucking grown-up way to approach things. Yeah, I don't know why. By the way, you know what a prenup is? Okay, let me say what a prenup is. You have a choice. The government can rule your life or you rule your life. And my opinion is a prenup is two grown-ups saying, hey, let's decide what we want as our marriage contract instead of the government. Because if the government's involved, you're going to have some judge ruling over your life. And trust me, you both get fucked, okay? In my opinion, as grand as people think it is. So a prenup is simply two grown-ups saying, this is what I think how if the what works in a relationship, what does. I just read that George Clooney's prenup with Amal, she requested that they have sex three times a week. I don't know if this is true or not. She requested that they have sex 3 times a week and no less than 12 times a month. And if he fell short, he had to pay her $100,000. And I think they've been married 12, 13 years, and he's paid out over 400 grand because he was shooting a movie or something else. But she put physical intimacy as a deal in the relationship. So do you see, these are grown-up people having grown-up conversations. All right, let's keep going here. What is your opinion? Bonnie says, what is your opinion regarding dating for 2 years and my partner still doesn't want to move in together? He says he wants to wait another year when he retires. Another year, we are 68. Well, I'd want to know what being retired means that's different than today. Like, I'd want to know I'd want to understand what that difference is.
Yeah.
The question is, I mean, I'm a believer that if you're 2 years in, this is your shit or get off the pot period. Okay. Quite frankly, even 1 year in, but 2 years in is shit or get off the pot. We're either in it for the long run and we're not. Now, that doesn't mean you have to get married. And by the way, some people, now here's the thing about living together. Not everybody is suited to live together. There is a whole population of people that are considering having separate residencies, but still be in a serious committed relationship. Now, a lot factors might have to be considered. How far you live from each other, your financial status, that sort of thing. But today, I believe going forward, we will see an equal number of people in serious relationships that don't live together compared to those who live together. I think that will become the norm. So, and there's a benefit to not living together. I mean, we're bumping heads right now with the needing space.
Yeah.
And we're only 3 weeks in.
There's something about solitude and, having your own space. But Bonnie, I would even wonder if there isn't something in his financial makeup, like when he retires, he's getting a pension, and maybe that might be, a financially better place, something like that. I don't know if all those questions have been asked, but maybe that might be part of it too.
Next question. By the way, folks, when I don't look at the camera, I'm looking at the chat box. Do you like to talk about politics and religion? Well, religion in the sense that we both consider ourselves spiritual, but not religious. And we feel like we both have a connection to the divine and something greater than ourselves. So from that vantage point, we don't talk about, conventional religion, if that's such a word.
And then politics from only the standpoint of morals or ethics.
Yeah, morals and ethics. We don't get into the weeds about what's happening in the political front. We are going to a seminar next month that's by David Guyam, who's a Kabbalist. I find the Kabbalah, mystic Judaism, to be fascinating. I am really, really excited about going to this, to learning about it. So for those who aren't aware, I think Madonna made it more popular, Kabbalah.
Yeah.
But David Guyam,
something to explore.
Something to consider. Anyways, and I probably went too far on sharing that with everybody. We're going to keep going. We'll go for a few more minutes. All right. I was supposed to meet an old friend for Valentine's Day. We've been talking online since Christmas. It was kind of romantic. He stood me up and wrote that he had drank too much the night before.
And we lost it.
Okay, wait a minute.
Oh,
there's more to it. Okay. Said a bunch of mean things to me that he saw a lot of red flags. I was shocked and stunned, saddened. I've known him for 25 years. Now what? Just block?
So can you go back to the first part?
Okay.
Curious what that was.
I was supposed to meet an old friend for Valentine's Day. We had been talking online since Christmas, so roughly about 6 weeks.
But then he said he saw red flags. Okay, so I don't know if we have full context here, but it sounds like I mean, boy, this is one of those things, like, you really wonder what's in people's minds when they say stuff like that, right? Like, when he said red flags, did he share with you what those red flags
By the way,
were?
alcohol can be truth serum.
Yeah, but
but he was drunk and all this
Yeah.
stuff, and my point by truth serum, to some extent, you get to see a little bit more of less walls when somebody is drunk.
Yeah.
Obviously, something about this gentleman has already given you a clue of his character, and what did they say? When someone shows you who they are,
Listen.
Yeah. So for you, chalk it up to a learning experience. Be grateful for, dodging a bullet. See what you can have learned from this experience. I know it's difficult with childhood friends because we feel this connection of instant knowing. It's funny, I reconnected a couple years ago with someone I knew in high school. Haven't spoken to her in 35 plus years, well, how long's it been? 40 years, whatever. Not 40 years, 30 years. And there was this instant knowing based on who we were 30 years ago. But really, we didn't know each other from that period. By the way, we're strictly friends, but there was an interesting feeling of familiarity, but it was based on the past, not the present. So just be, that would be my suggestion, to take that into consideration. Angela writes, question, have you ever talked about their childhood wounds?
Our childhood?
I think she means ours.
Oh, yeah.
We have talked about, well, I even to this day will bring up, like, that's my mom wound, my dad wound. You don't bring it up in the same way. I am aware of the experiences she had in childhood, but you don't dwell on it nearly as much as I do. And when I say dwell on it, I'm aware how often my stuff triggers me.
I'm not as triggered by my childhood wounds.
And
but there was a lot of forgiveness in there too.
Yeah.
From me, by me.
By the way, Hillary wants to point out, try a natural parsley spray. It smells better. And yes, vinegar is healthier in the microwave. Oh my God. The fact that we brought that up.
There's a good joke about parsley, but I can't say it online.
Okay. Is it sexualized?
Yes.
Okay. Relationship, Sandy. What is that? Oh. Well, that's it.
All right.
Folks.
Another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust. This was fun. I mean, we went down a bunch of rabbit holes. Let me ask you all, would you like to see Paula again? Let me know in the comments. Would you like to do this again?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm enjoying myself.
I want to share with everyone why I brought Paula on. I find Paula to be an amazingly, not only articulate, smart, savvy person, and she has as much fascination of human behavior, probably even more so than I do. By the way, they're all saying yes. And she is a brilliant at seeing through the muddy waters within people and what's going on with them. I think you have just as much talent as many therapists or coaches out there. I think you come to the table. And what Paula comes to the table with, besides she's a little Pollyanna, is that she comes from love. She really, love is her through line. So, and she calms my nervous system. So if you see a different Jonathan online, it's because being with her is like, it's like being with a tuning fork. It's just, she knows how to, she doesn't have to do anything. The guitar just gets tuned by being in her presence. And I'm very grateful for that. So, sweetheart, you're getting a lot of love. So,
loving the love, people.
Yeah. So, hey, by the way, if you found value in this conversation, do me a favor. Share this with friends. Hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Donate to the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund, that little $, or you can go to the super thanks later. We would appreciate the love. We're going to come back. Tell us what you want to talk about in future videos. So go to my go to the bottom comment sections. Right, this is what I'd like to talk about. I am more than happy to dive into conversations, and I'm using our relationship as a backdrop because I think too many people miss out on a great relationship because they get hung up on chemistry. Needing to drive the bus. And let me just tell you, as I said in the very beginning of this conversation, trust should be driving the bus, not chemistry. Because when you build trust with someone, you have the potential for a juicy, delicious, healthy, happy relationship, which I think I have. Thank you, sweetheart. Folks, thanks for being on. We appreciate the love. Don't forget to share this video. Wishing you all a super duper wonderful evening. Be well. Thanks. Bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.